Those very interesting times.
Yeah, really. Now, you're in the midst of all of this, and you are a Christian voice,
Right.
Christian ministry. As such, you are not a respecter of persons.
That's right.
And you work with many Arabs as well as Jews. And something that a lot of people don't realize is that well over 1 million Israelis are Arabs.
That's right.
You know, they have an Arab, they have an Israeli passport because they chose to stay back in 1948 instead of
That's
leaving.
Right.
What's a Christian's position in all of this? Jew and Arab, state of Israel, you know, how do you find Christ's place in all of this?
Right. Well, of course, maybe different Christians would answer in different ways, but I'll answer from my heart. First of all, I believe that God does have the right to give things to certain groups of people for His purposes, and He did in His Word say that He was giving this piece of property to the offspring of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who He chose to reveal Himself and His character to the world. But He also was very clear many times throughout Scripture that they were to act with justice and mercy to all the peoples living within their borders. And it was never a only Jewish state. There were always the strangers in their midst. And so my belief is that, that God is bringing the Jewish people back, and the prophecies are being fulfilled, and the state has been revived as a direct link to Bible prophecy. But that does not mean that we call for injustice or the persecution of any people group. And I believe that most Jewish people, if we can get past the fear factor of the terrorism and so on, would be very happy to live at peace with the people in their midst. So somehow we have to get past the violence and do whatever we can to bring peace to the situation, but that doesn't mean that we have to deny what God has said in His Word.
I've often wondered, you know, having lived there myself for 7 years and raised our kids there, what the situation in Israel would be if there were not so many outside influences.
Right.
You know, you're surrounded by a couple hundred million Arabs. You've got the U.S. involved. You've got the European Union involved. Everybody's kind of focusing on this little strip of land. I've often wondered, you know, if people were just to back off and allow Israelis, Jewish and Arab alike, to work it out, it might be a different situation.
It might be.
Yeah.
Well, you know, what is an Israeli reaction to any kind of pain or suffering anywhere in the world? Immediately, they call up the country and say, can we send a team? Can we send rescuers? Can we help? We know so much about disaster. They sent a team to Japan with the tsunami just recently.
You know, I couldn't believe it when we moved to Israel. I would see somebody pull over with car trouble, and before the car had stopped rolling, there's 3 or 4 cars stopping with it. I mean, the Israelis they just have an instinct for crisis and wanting to help. But we got about 3 minutes left. Let's talk about Bridges for Peace again. You're obviously continuing what you're doing. Do you have any vision for new ministry, new horizons?
Well, we just want to get the message out to farther if we can. We would love to be able to start reaching into the hearts of the Chinese Christians. So we're right now looking for people that can do translation for us into Mandarin Chinese. And we're reaching out to help Christians really understand that God does have a plan and a purpose for the Jewish people. And then we're coming back to the Jewish people and saying, God has a plan and a purpose for you. It's been so interesting to me in the last few months to note how often Jewish people are talking about the coming of Messiah. In fact, there's a phrase that I've heard many, many times in recent months, which is Havlei Mashiach, which means the labor pangs of the Messiah. And Jewish authors and speakers are talking about that the sages say that as the coming of Messiah is closer, that the pressure and the pain will be coming closer and harder together. One of the rabbi's wives, the Rebbitzin, Esther Jungris, has said, every mother knows that when the baby's time comes closer, the pain becomes sharper and closer together until the mother's not sure if she can handle it. And she said, that's what we're in today. We're in those days when pressure and pain and difficulties are coming closer and closer together. But then comes the day when the baby comes and everybody says, Mazel Tov, happy occasion. And I'm amazed to hear how many Jewish people are talking about the Messiah and anticipating his coming. And I'm in many conversations, and I tell them, I said, you know, I know we don't right now agree on who the Messiah is, but I want you to know that when he comes, I'm going to follow him.
I remember Teddy Kollek, the famous mayor of Jerusalem, saying to a small group of pastors, of which I was a member one time, you know, for you, Messiah is returning, for us he's coming, but either way, he said, we sure would like to get him here as soon as possible. And I couldn't agree more. Yeah. Final question, you and your husband Tom, I should know this, but I don't. Do you have children?
No, we've never had children.
Never had kids, so you don't have children growing up there.
No.
Do you, in terms of your family, extended family, how do they view the Brimmers living over there in Israel and doing what you're doing?
My dad, of course, Dr. David Allen Lewis, was so proud of us, and he's in heaven now, so I like to think he's watching what we're doing on the big screen of heaven, you know. Mom and my sister are very much involved. In Tom's family, everybody has visited at least once, and while they might at one point have thought we were a little bit out there, they've come to realize that we're following the call of God in our lives, and there's no place better to be than where he wants you.
Well, it certainly is a road less traveled, and I really admire your not only your stick-to-itiveness and faithfulness, but also your vision. Do you have a website?
Yes, www.bridgesforpeace.com.
Very simple, bridgesforpeace, one word, .com.
That's right.
And people can log on and find out more about what you're doing and also how they can support your work.
That's right.
That's terrific. Well, thanks for coming our way.